Hey folks, Malforian here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing Crusader Kings 3 and what I'm hoping for the content that we'll get this year. As we know, we've been a little bit light on content during the first 2 years of the game, and I'm hoping this year that we really see like an uptick. I don't want like expansions or DLC every month. I don't want to go back to the old Paradox way, but we definitely need to see some DLC this year of a decent amount, I would think. So as we discuss through it, leave a comment down below what you're looking for. Maybe there's a certain area of the map that you want to play in and there's just not enough going on that would help you come back to the game and play in that area. But yeah, you join me here in the Dev Diary 109. Now this is from October. If you've not read this already, this is the game team kind of discussing what might be coming in the future, why things might be coming at a certain time in the future. It's actually a really good post if you've not read it. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But it talks all about like which expansions, when maybe, what they might see in an expansion and things like that. So it's actually really, really good. Flavor themes and stuff like that. But the main bit we're going to get to is this. The floor plan of the future. This is basically just a picture of all the things they discussed above in this dev diary and kind of what they're thinking of. So I'm going to be honest, we're just going to get straight into it. I want Imperial as there's Imperial here and there's Imperial mechanics. I don't know why it's on here twice. What I hope for, and I would imagine this would be an expansion, is, and I'm going to kind of lump them all together, is Imperial mechanics / Byzantine rework. I think everyone wants the Byzantine rework. 2 years into the game and we still don't have like Imperial court mechanics or just, all that flavor that CK2 had and the Byzantines, historically had, like how their government ran. I really, really want that. I think Byzantines probably, I think I've seen this mentioned previously by the game team, is one of the most played realms in the game. So it's kind of surprising they haven't improved it. Although I guess if it's the most played already, where's the rush, I suppose? You could think of it that way as well. Yeah, so my primary one would be Imperial / Byzantine rework, really just changing how it plays. Byzantines so different to all the other realms really in that period of history, and they just play the same as every other empire in the game. Now that does get me onto the second part of this first one, which is empire mechanics. I think this is why this would probably be an expansion. Maybe it could be a flavor pack. I think it would probably be an expansion. So it would be basically the rework of the Byzantines, Imperial laws. Maybe you could implement them in other realms through decisions and things like that. And then empire mechanics. I really think empires should play quite a bit different in the game. Playing an empire versus a kingdom is basically the same. You get some more men-at-arms, you get other modifiers and things like that, but the actual day-to-day gameplay is zero difference. Kingdom's a little bit different to Duchy now because you have the royal court, for good or ill. you have the royal court now, so it is a little bit different playing a kingdom to a duchy, but playing an empire versus a kingdom is basically exactly the same, apart from some slight modifiers. So I really hope that is what we get, because I don't know what they'd be. Some kind of mechanics come in for empires. One thing I do want them to keep, and I hope they do keep to this, and they discuss this in the dev diary, is that they want to keep mechanics in the free patches. They want all mechanics to be in free updates, and then all the flavor or like additional stuff goes into the DLC. I think that's a way better. I know everyone says this, it's not a hot take. It's way better working that way, because then different expansions, different systems can interact with each other, and they haven't got to think, well, this guy wouldn't have this DLC, they might have this one, so we can't have them interact too much, because then you'd have like half a mechanic and things like that. So I hope they do keep to their philosophy of having all mechanics in the base game, well, all major mechanics in the base game, and then like additional flavor stuff, and additional other mechanics is fine, but like major things should be in the base game, and then additional things in DLC. So yeah, like I say, that's the first one, Imperial Byzantine / Empire mechanics. I think it just make a massive difference. It would also affect all realms. I think a lot of the DLC so far has been quite Eurocentric. We've had the Northmen, we've had Iberia, and we've had courts, court life and things like that. That's obviously affects everywhere, but again, it still feels quite European-centric to me anyway. So this would just bring improvements to the entire map. Playing an empire anywhere would be different. And obviously the Byzantines is quite European-focused, but like I say, such a big one and just such a want by the community. I think it'd be the best one to do. So I've got a couple of these. So the next one I'm going to pick is the modifier stacking, which is down here, kind of hidden in a corridor. I think modifying stacking needs to change. We all know there's certain buildings you should always basically build to buff your units. There's less army modifier stacking, to be honest, that you can do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of that much that you can stack with your armies, apart from just having a lot of men-at-arms, which is probably also, I would kind of throw that in as well. Maybe stat modification for men-at-arms, because men-at-arms are just so much better than levies, especially once you get out the early game. Well, in fact, actually, they're even better in the early game, to be honest. So, just at any point, if you have men-at-arms, they're just so much better than levies, which is obviously realistic. You know, historically, a trained army would be way better than levies, but I don't know. I think it kind of makes levies basically pointless. In one of my previous videos, I discussed about, I think tribal armies should have buffs for levies to make them maybe not as good as men-at-arms, because obviously historically they weren't. You know, an armed soldier defeat, you know, like an old school Viking, if you think of it, you know, a guy with an axe, a guy in full armor with a sword is just going to beat him, you know, 9 times out of 10. It'd obviously have to be balanced some way, but I do think they should change, you know, how the army composition works, and then the modifier stacking for buildings. Maybe limit some buildings, they can be built once or twice, or maybe just some more variety in the buildings, so you don't just stack the same ones constantly just for the modifiers it gives, like knight effectiveness. I just always stack that one basically because knight's just so good. It's just ridiculous, especially with some of the modifiers from like cultures and lifestyle traits and things. Yeah, some of the stats you can stack are quite insane. Maybe have like a soft cap where it just diminishing returns just hits at, you know, a certain amount, like knight effectiveness. Once you get to like 150%, 150% even, you know, you get like diminishing returns, like 50% of the stat then takes effect or something after that point. I'm not sure how it would work, but I do think some of the modifier stacking, I don't think it's a major issue, but I think as the game progresses, it will start to become that. You know, we all know Crusader Kings 2, the amount of traits you could get, you could stack some modifiers to ludicrous amounts, and I don't want the game to get to that point. So I think fixing it now would be way better than having some more expansions, more DLC, and then you have to fix it in like 4 more years, and it's just an absolute mess at that point. So it's kind of like a future-proofing the game, I think, by changing the modifiers now, and then having that philosophy going forwards. And then the third one, you know, the Byzantine Empire one is definitely my most wanted, but I think this one's close, and this is going to be a hot take that Merchant Republics isn't going to be in this list. I know that will annoy some people, but it isn't going to be in here. I never played them in CK2. You know, I'm sure they'll do them really well in CK3, but it's not high on my list, to be honest, because most people don't play them, so it's not high. Tribes, Africa, the east of the map. I know it's a long thing. Basically, from the south of the map, I'll put it up on the screen now. Basically, all of Africa, Middle East, up to the steppes, and you know where the Mongols spawn and all that stuff. I just think there needs to be some DLC in there. I'd happily take like no expansions this year, and just like 4 or 5 flavor packs, each one focused, you know, West Africa, East Africa, India, Persia, and then, you know, like a Mongol flavor pack, which I think will be one of them. Maybe not this year, but I think we will. It just makes too much sense. Everyone would buy it. It's just way too obvious. And I don't know what they'd change, but I'm sure they'd think of something. But yeah, I just think that whole bit of the map is just the same. Yeah, if you're playing West Africa, it's the same as playing, you know, in India, basically. There's aesthetic changes, but apart from that, there's basically no other differences. You can both use elephants, so, you know, there's literally no difference. So really just that. I mean, I'd happily, like I say, take that this year. Just all that area of the map just gets flavor. Just so if you play there, it plays different. Because at the moment, like I say, it just plays the same. Like I say, let me know in the comments down below, but I think it just plays the same pretty much everywhere, at least if you're playing Scandinavia, even England. You've got the Northman DLC, which there are mechanics, well, not really mechanics, but there are events and things like that which are different. And obviously in Iberia, you've got the struggle. Maybe you could see the struggle implemented elsewhere where it makes sense, but yeah. I think that'd be the third one. Actually, the fourth one I just thought of, and I can't believe I didn't say this before, would be Crusades. Like, I think for a game called Crusader Kings, we all know the Crusades are an absolute joke in this game. They just don't work most of the time. The armies just are incompetent, basically, and it's just down to luck, usually, if you win them, and you generally don't win them, which I know, like, historically, they didn't win all the Crusades, obviously, but, yeah, it's basically a meme at this point that you just lose them, because they've got a way to organize the armies correctly. I don't know how they do it. I'm sure they could program it so they know, like, hey, just bunch everything up and go at once and then do it. I guess their worry would be they just always win then, but there's got to be some kind of middle balance. They've already tried like twice to fix Crusades and it just hasn't worked. So yeah, Crusades would be an honourable fourth, I think. And there's plenty of other things on here that I'd like. The one thing I don't want, and this will be upsetting to some people, I think, is expanding the map. This one here, I don't want them to expand the map for like 10 years. I know some people want China, Japan and things like that, but I just don't see the point at the moment. I agree with people that say there's not enough flavor in the map that we have. Why do you want the map bigger? Like, why? What's the point? Unless they brought it in with a bunch of mechanics and like just literally like dumped in, well, not dumped in, but placed China and Japan and Indonesia and just had a massive amount of flavor and mechanics and stuff like that, then maybe I'd be happy with it. Maybe at that point I'd be like, okay, it makes sense. But if they just put it in and it's just more map with nothing else, then I'm just not interested in that at all. To be honest, I probably wouldn't even buy it if it was a DLC, because I just don't see the point. Everything else is way more important on this. Is that why there's no door to this? Is that why there's this one's blocked off? I think it's the only one, actually. Yeah, it is. It's the only one that actually has no entrance. So maybe they're trying to tell us something there, like, no, this is locked off. We ain't doing expanding the map. So don't even ask. That'd be my ideas. That's like my 3 or 4 that I want to see this year. I'm hoping that we get like an expansion and like 2 or 3 flavor packs this year. I think that's a good cadence for DLC. It's got something to bring you back to play. Obviously, the cost wouldn't be ideal, but I think the amount that we all play this game, I'd happily give them some more money if they gave us some more content. So yeah, an expansion, Imperial rework, Empire mechanics, and then tribes / Africa East map. I think they could just do a tribal flavor pack that just brings different stuff to that. And then Crusades, I'm sure they'll do a DLC on just the Crusades. I'd really want, my ideal hope for that would be like a 4th Crusade. Everyone knows about the 4th Crusade, going to Constantinople instead of actually crusading. I think that would be a prime candidate for struggle mechanics. Like, you could try combat Venice to deflect it into, like, re-target it into Constantinople, or try, like, hey guys, do you want to actually go on crusade instead of just going to raid the Byzantines? So that would be awesome if they brought in the struggle mechanic into that somehow. It'd be amazing. It would be awesome. I'd love that, to be honest. And you could have like smaller ones for other crusades, but I think if you had like the 4th crusade and it always or like 50% of the time triggered it, I think that'd be really fun to do. So anyway, guys, I don't want to ramble on any longer. It's just my short video. Like I say, what I kind of want to see from the game this year. Hopefully we get some news soon. I would imagine in the next week or 2 we'll get a dev diary at least hinting towards what the next DLC might be. Although this forum post, the dev diary, kind of talked about things, they didn't really say which ones were going to come soon. I think they actually said Trade and Merchant Republics isn't coming anytime soon, because I haven't even started work or like theory crafting ideas for it. Which, to be fair, before we do end, I do like, and they've shown this already, the things they're bringing back, they don't want to just bring the CK2 mechanic into CK3 and just say, yep, there we go. Just bring Merchant Republics over. They'll just work the same way. They have said, we want to improve it. We want to make it better. We don't want to just copy paste things from CK2. We want to bring them into the CK3 world, and we want them to be awesome. We don't want them to be like, it's all right. And I think that was Merchant Republics and CK2. Like I say, I'll be honest, I never played them. I think, apart from like just messing around with them a little bit. So let me know what you think. Like, did they play well? Do you think they actually worked how they should have done? Or what kind of improvements would you like to see in CK3? But at that note, we'll leave it there for today. Hopefully we get a dev diary again soon. I'll be covering them, obviously, once that happens. But we're going to leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.